Governor, how are you? Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Very good. Habari. Salama, habari. Salama sana. How are you? Fine. Hello.
Always create space.
Solutions for kitchens, restaurants, hotels, schools, state lodges, and all that. We've done well. We've created employment for over 60 Kenyans, and we are looking to expand our business.
Where do you get the raw materials?
The raw materials we purchase, but we convert them.
For this development, we also make the fabric ones also from cotton. Buy also from the local manufacturers for cotton materials. So, and then
Where like?
This is Teknovika. We have Aframa, Sagana, Aziz. Those are the different colors. We are selling them in 20 shops, an average of about 500 bags per each. So we are distributing to them. Yes. And we also make the cheap products that are, we are making sure that we're going to replace China. Perfect bags. Made from Kenya.
Habari. How are you?
These products are right in the household. They would like to also favorite among your girls. They really love using your products. I'm sure if you pay
A lady in a slum is able to go for a cash job just because she can be able to buy this one. By she'll be able to use what she has earned for the day to buy a packet. So she's able to spare some money by doing this. We also take care of
1
10 shillings.
And this packet?
This packet goes for 80 shillings. Yeah.
Okay. This is the honey.
This is BK Honey International Limited. We are located in Thika East. Somewhere called Goliba.
I know Goliba.
Yeah, so that's...
For once, we are having a different conversation. We are not having a conversation how difficult things are, the challenges, the problems, the hurdles and all that. We are having a conversation about opportunity. And every speaker here has spoken passionately about the opportunities that we have, from textile to leather to the whole array of opportunities in housing, in SME, and the whole array of that. I just want to promise you one thing, that this administration will work with you every step of the way until we redeem all the opportunities that are available for us as a country. You have persuaded me that it is possible for us to create 1 million jobs from the manufacturing sector. You have persuaded me that it is possible for us to move the contribution of our GDP from manufacturing from 7% to 20% in 8 years. So all that is standing between us and 20% contribution from manufacturing and 1 million jobs and all the opportunities that you have ably elaborated this morning is continuous engagement, continuous consultation, working together, and everybody realizing that nobody has the monopoly of good ideas, sharing those ideas, and making sure that we move together as a country. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, that I will be available, my administration will be available, the CS, Moses Kuria and his team will be available, our CS for Treasury will be available, so that we can actualize all these opportunities together. There is absolutely no reason why today we should not be a champion in the whole leather products space, because we are slaughtering 3 million livestock every year. We have the third largest herd in this continent. Yet we are importing 110 billion worth of leather products into Kenya. It completely doesn't make sense. As has been said here, we can increase our revenues. We can increase the contribution of leather to our GDP from the current 15 billion to 75 billion, because we have everything to make that a reality. I want to promise you that we are very clear about what we want to do in the leather space. We are very clear about what we want to do in the textile space, because we believe that therein lies the opportunity for us to create jobs and create wealth. And therefore, this conversation this morning is a very important conversation to me and to every Kenyan that is listening to us. You have said yourselves very ably, we have 16 million kids in school. They need a pair of shoes every year. We have, we only produce 4 million pairs of shoes. Never mind all the leather products that would come with it. And we have the raw material right here. The raw material is rotting, and yet we are importing leather products, shoes, using other people's hides and skin when ours is going to waste. It doesn't require any genius. You know, we don't have, there is nothing for us to have a conversation about. We just need to connect our raw materials to the market, jobs in between, money in between, and all of us will be doing well. So it is my intention that this great potential that we've always had, the great opportunity that we have always had, we must make it a reality in the next couple of years. And I am prepared, I am willing to work with you in that space. All the paperwork has been done. All the plans have been documented. All we need to do is to plug and play. Make sure we bring this to a reality. And ladies and gentlemen, I am here, lock, stock, and barrel to work with you so that we can actualize this opportunity. How do we make sure that every small producer and every small manufacturer and everybody who is adding some value to some product is aggregated and made possible for them to access the markets? I just want to ask industry, the captains of industry sitting here. Ladies and gentlemen, there is absolutely no reason why we are selling our tea and process 95% in a space where we have the biggest competitive advantage. I want to promise you that whatever government is supposed to do, I have already had a conversation with our tea marketers, and I have told them that if it is required of me to invest in a common user facility so that we can add value to our tea, the government of Kenya is going to invest in a common user facility. It is not going to be possible and practical for us to continue to export our tea and process 95% of it. We are getting 120 billion now. We can get 300-400 billion shillings by merely adding value, period. The farmers are already working too hard to produce the tea. Who is failing our farmers? Our manufacturers. You guys. You're failing our farmers. Our farmers are producing all the tea. The third largest producer in the world. On half an acre, on 1 acre, on 2 acres. What we are doing, we are failing them because we are not adding value to what they are producing. We are continuing to sell our tea in the auction. We are getting peanuts for it, and many other people who do not have a single bush, who do not have a single bush of tea, are making more money than us. Good people, our manufacturers, give us the value of our tea. You are the people who is standing between us and money. True? Our farmers are working so hard with close to 30 million units of livestock. They have 3 million hides and skins every year. Is it being eaten by dogs? It's rotting. It's being buried in some places. When I went around Kenya with our economic fora, this was the issue everywhere. Mandera, Wachia, Tana River, the whole of that space, Kajiado. Farmers were asking us, we are livestock keepers were asking us, what are we going to do with our skin? Who is this group of people standing between us and the value that we can get from our skins and hides? You people. You are the people standing between us and 75 billion of product that we can sell. And we have a ready market, starting from our own children in school. Even the local market in Kenya alone, we are importing 12, 15 million pairs of shoes alone every year. Market is not the problem. Raw material is not the problem. The problem is the people to add value. They are sitting right here. True or not true? So, good people, as I said earlier, we must have a different conversation. We are having a conversation here about, or you see, we have a problem with VAT refund. How does VAT refund stop us from adding value to the hides and skins that are going to waste? Muniambie. You know? So, and I'm not saying that there are no challenges. There are challenges. But there are bigger opportunities than challenges in our space in Kenya. Let us focus. Let us focus more in the opportunities that exist and less in the challenges that we have. We can overcome the challenges by leveraging on the huge opportunity that we have. We have a huge market. In EAC, in Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we now have the market infrastructure for us to take over the market in our continent. Our continent is importing milk, powder, food. It's because Kenya has not taken its place. Kenya is supposed to be the country that will position Africa appropriately to be able to make sure that we supply every commodity, every product that we should. Instead, we are having a quarrel, small quarrel. Oh, Uganda is bringing cheaper milk. Uganda should bring cheaper milk because they can produce it much more cheaply. We should be adding value to our own milk. We add value to our own milk, and I want to say here, we had a program of improving on our milk value chain. We had first 300 milk coolers. That product was sabotaged. That program was sabotaged because of interest. But I have gone back to that product. We are going to have another 660 milk coolers. We are going to add value to our milk. What we should be doing is our milk from our farmers. We should be adding value, producing butter, using it to produce powder, and go and sell it in DRC, go and sell it in Central Africa, go and sell it in West Africa. And then we get the cheaper milk from Uganda and we drink. Yeah. Instead of having a quarrel with Uganda, why are we having a quarrel with Uganda? We are having a quarrel with Uganda because we have refused to take our rightful place in our continent. We should have made more steps and allow Uganda to come and occupy the next place as we move ahead. Are we together, good people? So we must have a different conversation. I will work with you and I will make sure that whatever opportunities that can be actualized, working together with you, we actualize those opportunities and move our manufacturing to 20% of our GDP in the next couple of years, 8 years, if not less. Part of our revenue gets lost because the stamps that you use on your manufactured goods, we have more fake stamps than genuine stamps. How is that possible? You know, we have to sort that out because we are losing revenue. Part of why our contribution of manufacturing to GDP in terms of revenue is low is because very many people pocket our money, or the money meant for taxes. So we're going to reform that space. Mr. Mburu and his team have very clear instructions for me on where we should go. I believe that in the next 2 years, we should be able to move our revenues from 2 trillion to 3 trillion and to double it in the next 5 years. Many people may not like that story because it means we are all paying taxes. But I'm sorry, everybody, we must all pay taxes. And I will lead the way by paying taxes. There will be no exemptions for people who are politically connected. There will be no exemptions for nobody. It's going to be the same yardstick for everybody. Are we together? That's the direction we're going to go. And I want to promise you, good people, that we will also make our tax regime predictable. I agree with you. I agree with you. Investments in manufacturing are long-term investments. You need a predictable tax regime so that you can know how your investments are going to look like. I agree with our good brother who said we need to reform our income tax, our income tax law, so that again we make it up to date. There are too many patches of it. Nobody knows how it looked like in the first place. So I agree with you that we need to do some work around that space. But as I work hard with our legislators to be able to improve that space, please make the opportunities that we have in this manufacturing space a reality for our country. It's good for your businesses. It's good for our agenda of job creation. It's good for our agenda of export-led growth, and it's good for everybody. I just want to promise you one thing, that this administration will work with you every step of the way. Nobody has the monopoly of good ideas, sharing those ideas and making sure that we move together as a country. We have a market.
Thank you very much, Tesh. Your Excellency, we take the hugs, we tell you where to hug, you reason up, and together. The second one, kindly don't just move just yet. The third award, congratulations. Collections, Genio Collections, quickly. Runners up is Mark Dave Holdings. Mark Dave, please. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Na sasa niombe ukiwa hapo mheshimiwa.
We are determined to make Nairobi the manufacturing hub of East and Central Africa, and eventually Africa. That we are determined to do it, and we'll work. And that's why I'm asking the companies to come and tell us what you need from us. What we've agreed, Your Excellency, number one, is on the issue of a unified business permit. There are too many licenses being paid. As of now, we are 70% in the process of actually reducing it to one license for Nairobi County. But I'll prevail upon you and my friend Moses Kuria that you also reduce the ones from national government. Because manufacturers and SMEs are spending more time complying than doing their work. So today you're paying this license, Kesho, there's another license, the next day another license, and those avenues for rent seeking. So the county government of Nairobi, everything that we ask for will only be one license. In the next few months, we have made progress. We are willing, Your Excellency, to also collect the national ones on your behalf. You have MCSK, you have PRISC, you have CAMP, you have so many others. We put them in one pot and then distribute. Let the business people focus on doing business, not on complying, Your Excellency. I understand the issue of multiple assessing from county to county, on advertising. If you're driving a truck from here to Mombasa, it's a discussion that we're having at the COG. We need to get a creative way of sorting it out, because I realize there's no governor who's willing to let go of their, revenue raising capacity, but still we need to have, a way that doesn't hurt the businesses. Ideally, we would ask you to register in a county and pay that county, and of course that county would be Nairobi. The other governors will not be willing to do that, but we'd like to hear your ideas on how we ensure that counties still get the revenue without stifling businesses. Our work is not to stifle businesses or to stifle manufacturing, but actually to promote manufacturing. Your Excellency, we're also going to launch next week our new revamped revenue system for Nairobi. We call it Nairobi Pay, which addresses all of these issues. And I want to urge the manufacturers here, please, lipeni ushuru. We will serve you. Already for those in the industrial area, I am doing 39 roads. We're doing 39 roads for you. Linus forgot to mention I did for him. He's in Kasarani before I was governor. We will give you the environment to do your work, but we need you to also support us to be able to serve you better. So we hope that it will be more efficient. There's no payment that will be received in Nairobi after next week in cash. We are digitizing all our revenue streams. If anybody asks for payment in cash, just know it is not Nairobi County. Everything will be digitized. As a country, we cannot do the same thing and expect a different result, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, agriculture is great, and I'm glad I had my friend from Unga Group saying he's producing for us each agunia. But your CS nominee for Treasury will tell you that in as much as you're getting 24% contribution to GDP, the contribution to national revenue is less than 3%. That gap is a value chain gap, which must be sorted out, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, China in 1952, 83% of people in China were employed in agriculture. In 1977, it turned out 77%. In 2012, it's 33% because of industrialization. It doesn't mean you're killing agriculture, but you're creating value to where we create jobs. And that is why we also need to, radically, and I'm glad your CS for trade is a free thinker. Yeah, is a free thinker. As we discuss the Hustler Fund, which is important, I would ask that we do a balance. That yes, if I give a kiosk $1 million shillings more, will they hire more people or add more stock? But if I use that money to guarantee investment in rapidly scalable tech startups, that then, for instance, Twiga in 3 years was able to hire 700 people, where is there potential for creating jobs? So yes, we must sustain that, and we must give them a mboga, we must give the mom and dad shops, but we need rapidly scalable startups that then are able to hire more people. Your Excellency, in the Senate, I sponsored and passed a startup bill where we are providing the government just guarantees and de-risks investments, because we can't afford to put money into those startups. But there are angel investors out there who are willing to come and put money if there's a climate where there's de-risking of those small groups. The innovation in Nairobi is amazing. This is the Silicon Savannah. But we just need to provide that framework where we just de-risk these startups, that if somebody's investment at whatever first series or whatever point, if something happens, then they can recoup 30%, 20%, and that is how we'll address the issue of jobs. Because we've said we need a city of order and dignity. But we cannot have that dignity when many of our manufacturers are the ones who are polluting our rivers. It is yourselves who are polluting and engaging in illegal dumping. Once we provide and we're designating those zones, we will have to agree on what to do. Your Excellency, in your inaugural speech, you spoke about a Nairobi Rivers Commission. 70% of the effluent that goes into that river is industries and sewerage. We will sort out the sewerage system, but the industries need to be able to sort out their effluent coming out of them.
Your Excellency, we are honored today to have you here with us to discuss about manufacturing agenda 20 by 30. Please clap for the President for being with us. And for people who may not have heard that before, Vision 20 by 30 is manufacturing contributing 20% to the GDP by 2030. So, Your Excellency, without taking much time, Kenya is not doing very well from the Competitive Industrial Index by UNIDO. We rank 115 out of 152. May I remind you, Your Excellency, that the same was happening in the ease of doing business until your direct intervention. And I know because I was in that team, I was working for IBM then, that your direct intervention brought down or improved the ease of doing business from 136 in 2014-2015 to position 56 in 2019. So the competitive industrial index at 115, we just need to use the same template and the same blessing that you gave us to bring it forward to below 50, perhaps in 4 years. So that, I think, is one of the conversations that we could have.
I look at tea as a value-added cash crop. This cash crop gives us an exchange earning of about 23% of what we get as a nation. A production of 540,000 tons, 130 billion shillings in terms of revenue. But of this, only 5% is value added. That's a pain. How do we move from a 5% to a 50% as a nation? That's where we get the dollar down to our farmers. Okay? And it's up to us as an industry, as manufacturers, to be able to see that instead of exporting the raw material out there, we actually value add and be able to take it to the market. That in itself just loads $12 extra per kg to the consumer. Thinking about my mother, man, an extra 1,200 bob per kg, it's an extra kid in school. What do we need to do as a sector to be able to increase this from that paltry 5% to a 50%? Is a brainstorm that we need to have as an agribusiness sector to be able to close this gap. And we definitely promise to be part of the food security. Now, as I conclude, if you look at the graph on the far side, the production in terms of volume has always been almost consistent. But the key thing here now is, I was reading or discussing some things with some people from Rwanda, and where they beat us, they don't have the volume, but they have the quality, which tends to fetch a higher dollar. So the question now, we shift now from volume, we've got the volume. How do we now fetch even higher dollar through increase in the quality of the tea? So those are the discussions that we'll have as an entity, as a sector, to be able to see that we improve and add to the GDP of this country. One of the key initiatives, for example, the subsidy on fertilizer, and it's a very welcome initiative, given that where we need to tackle all this is on input, one by one. So we'd like to thank you for that initiative. And like in the West, say in the US, where they've managed to lock that kind of subsidy over almost in perpetuity, I'd like to request, Mr. President, that this is kept on lock and key, and probably the key thrown away somewhere in oblivion. But if you look, Your Excellency, at the graph on the far side, maize, we still have a gap of about 10% that we still get from our neighboring countries, the Ugandas, the Tanzanias. That can actually be easily covered by us continue partnering with the farmers in across the country to be able to improve this productivity. However, the threat still remains the continued fragmentation of the parcels of land, which then kills the productivity and efficiency that we want to achieve. Wheat, on the other hand, is still a big gap. We almost import almost 85–90%. And we saw what the impact was when Ukraine was invaded. That I've seen the other day, you visiting Ethiopia, and the guys in Ethiopia have done a good job to be able to almost take care of 70% of their wheat usage. So it's up to us to go out there, learn the best practice to be able to cover this gap and to be able to feed our nation.
Captains of the industry, we congratulate Your Excellency for the good work that you're doing, and we immerse ourselves in the plan that you have for this country. Currently, we have about 4.8 million number of registered motor vehicles in this country. Out of this, we have about 2.7 million that are only motorcycles. Out of the 2.7 million that have been registered, about 600,000 are already out of the road, according to Motorcycle Assemblers Association. And out of this, we have about 1.9 million motorcycles that are in the border sector. It would be very interesting for you to know that this market continues to increase by 20% annually, and therefore we expect extreme growth in this sector. When we talk about 1.9 million riders, Your Excellency, currently each border person supports about 6 people in a family, and therefore we are talking of about 11.4 million livelihoods supported out of this sector. We are looking at 550,000 new jobs at the end of it. We are looking at another 1.4 million new jobs in the motorcycle sector. We are going to look at you kindly forming a national automotive council. The second thing, implementation of the national automotive policy. This is nowhere else in the world. We have done very well. South Africa is following in the same. We can be able to deal with that. Thirdly, firm support of the implementation of motorcycle assembly regulations. Your Excellency, is going to be good for the country if you can also, and this is a request, passionate request by the automotive sector, whenever you get an opportunity, just pass by one of the makers of different parts. We have helmets that are being made locally. We have vehicles that are being made locally. Just pay a visit and we'll be able to enjoy this in the best way possible. Tutafanya kazi. Thank you, and may God bless you so much. Thank you.
So, Your Excellency, going back to the textile apparel sector, it's probably one of the biggest supply chains in the world, huge market opportunity. Kenya today is the largest exporter under AGOA to the US. That is our number 3 export. It has overtaken coffee, which is now number 4. It was $500 million, like the chairman said, and it's got 52,000 jobs. But this opportunity ahead of us, just one market, the United States, is $100 billion. If we start looking at European Union, 27 countries, another $150 billion. The total pie is $800 billion. And to me, the only lesson I know from business school is size of the pie, slice of the pie. So if the size of the pie in the US under AGOA is $100 billion, and our contribution of export contribution to that pie is $500 million, there's no need to chest thump and say, oh, we are the biggest, we're the best in Africa. Yes, you are. But globally, what have you done? You're 0.5% of US imports. It's a shame. We are duty-free. And we really don't have an option. We need to create jobs. And Your Excellency, I'm fortunate enough that I've had this conversation with you. But yes, your agenda is spot on. You told me you have 3 agendas. Agenda number 1, jobs. Agenda number 2, jobs. Agenda number 3, jobs. I think that, Your Excellency, this sector will deliver that opportunity. And it's a huge opportunity as we connect the pipeline back into the farm gates, the farmers, the field to fashion story that the chairman talked about. It's possible, and it can happen. This is the serious opportunity ahead of us that we should not lose. I know Jadida talked about the leather sector, but one thing she didn't talk about, the leather business in the US is $27 billion. Kenya has got 0% of that business. The leather shoe import duty into the United States is 60%, under AGOA is 0. It's an opportunity they've not even touched. So these two sectors, which are part of the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, will deliver the jobs you want, and I'm so happy you put them on your agenda. Asanteni sana. God bless you, sir.
We are number 3 in Africa in terms of livestock production. And when we think about all of us in terms of our intent with the cows that we have at home, it's either for milk or for meat. Nobody thinks about the hide. We do everything that it takes to ensure they have all the nutrients, the salt, the protein, to produce sufficient yield in milk and to produce the best quality meat. But hide is an afterthought. Therein lies the opportunity. Now let's talk about what's the current state in terms of value addition proposition. So currently, as we speak, in terms of finished goods, as an industry, we only produce 4 million pairs of shoes. Only 4 million pairs of leather shoes. Let's look around the room. 95 of all the men in this room are wearing leather shoes. We have a population of 55 million people. You can do the math about what the proportion of men and women will be, because primarily most of the leather is produced for a couple of different categories. One is for men's dress shoes, men's casual shoes. You have school shoes. We have a population of 16 million school-going kids. And their sizes change every 6 months or every year, depending on how big they are, pre-prep, primary, or secondary. So we have 16 million school-going kids who are only consuming a fraction of the 4 million pairs of shoes that I talked about. From an export perspective, there is zero value addition. If you look at the chart there, in terms of what we export, our revenues are 15 billion shillings only. And out of that 15 billion, 89% of that is in the form of what we call wet blue. Wet blue is a processed form of raw hide that allows for preservation. So it ensures all the organic matters are removed in order so that it doesn't rot. So when you slaughter a cow, if you leave the hide there, it will rot. So it is processed in a tannery that ensures that it gets to a level of wet blue. So 89% of our exports is in wet blue. From a farmer's perception, a hide is worth 1/8 of the value of the cow. And that's the exports that we are exporting. So we have various trading areas, COMESA, AGOA, AFTA, that we can trade with. The exports will move from 15 billion to about 75 billion. More importantly, from a people perspective, we currently have only 17,000 people in our industry. Based on these simulations, we anticipate, based on that labor intensivity in the additional value addition, we can move to 100,000 people who are employed. And 100,000 people, 70% of these are in the informal sector, not the formal sector, Karioko, Kamukunji, all of these hubs where we have very segmented or fragmented industries. And in addition to that, we'll be able to strengthen the skills, because these are skills that require some form of competency in terms of product design, chemical engineering, tannery, leather technology, if you will. So it has a really good value proposition in terms of our young people having employment in an industry that has opportunities.
I will go to a precise one-item example. As a company, we are based in Kenya. We are the only WHO pre-qualified plant in Kenya. In sub-Saharan Africa, there are 2, out of which 1 is in your backyard, sir. That gives us an opportunity to manufacture ARVs, malaria, TB, reproductive health, and the others. But we only manufacture ARVs and TB. Fortunately or unfortunately, this majority of this funding is from donor-funded programs. One item alone, which is an HIV product, which we already have the pre-qualification, the demand for Kenya is a million tablets a day, which is about 365 million tablets a year. We have more than enough capacity to supply the Kenyan market. what our request, and this is one product only I'm talking about, it is approximately worth $60 million in terms of value. It can give you a tax of $3 million a year and a forex retention of not less than $12, $13 million a year. I'm just talking of a 20% margin. Now, over and above job creation, my life is busy, but we have not considered any other product. So there is malaria, TB, HIV, reproductive health, and let's not forget the bigger animal which is now coming about is the non-communicable diseases, which is the lifestyle. So opportunities, positives, what the government has done is the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya policy, encouraging local manufacturing, demonstrating to buy from local manufacturers certain products, but not the HIV product, because that comes mainly from the donor-funded programs. So engagement with donors, Your Excellency, is very, very necessary. One thing I would say, we have supplied in a record time an ARV product to KEMSA as a local manufacturer. As I said, thanks to the government to support local industry. Clearly, I think we have a lot to do. And numbers have shown this is, I think, $1.2 billion market is actually there. And just one item can change. And it's a huge opportunity. Thank you. I don't want to dwell too much on it, sir.
To have you join here to celebrate the role of micro, small, and medium enterprises in manufacturing and recognize SMEs who have demonstrated sheer efforts towards growth, resilience, excellence, and innovation. As Kenya Association of Manufacturers, we are cognizant of the role that MSC plays in the growth of this economy. As a result, we continuously hold them up and nurture them to grow their businesses, to take full advantage of new and emerging markets, frontiers, both locally and globally. Your Excellency, you have time and again spoken about your passion to turn around our economy. At the heart of this is the employment creation to the millions of youth without jobs, food security, and eradication of poverty, amongst others. We would like to assure you our commitment to support your cause, vision, and the plan. The share of manufacturing sector as a percentage of the GDP over the last few years has declined from 9.3% in 2016 to 7.2%, which clearly shows that we are not growing at the same pace as other parts of the economy. And this is what, as a manufacturing fraternity, we wish to turn around and even go beyond what was in the Vision 2030 of achieving 15% of GDP to now achieving 20% by 2030, hence calling this Vision 20 by 30. Your Excellency, with the manufacturing sector, as we desire to grow to 20% by 2030, we shall achieve 1 million extra jobs in this sector. And empirical evidence has shown that for every one manufacturing job, it creates 3 other jobs in other ancillary sectors. Your Excellency, we have already heard how passionate you are about growing exports of this country. And we are completely aligned with you as a manufacturing fraternity.
We need to spend a bit more on the healthcare. I think Kenya's percentage spending in healthcare is pretty low against the target we had set. The life expectancy is increasing. We talk about NCD, which is hypertension, diabetes, all these are increasing. There's increased government support through health pillars. So these are going to drive it. Right now, a lot of public and private institutions are importing drugs. Now, when I talk about importing drugs, there is a patented and there's the generic arm. We're talking about the generic arm. We have a potential to increase this to 240 to 350 million dollars worth of business here, which means that when we see a protection, there are other players who are going to come into this market, which means that we have 3 to 6 factories, number of direct jobs going from 900 to between 900 and 1,800, and then indirect jobs. Finished products cost more than manufacturing, so your outflow of US dollars goes less. The other cost that we don't realize is the substandard and falsified medicines. If this is not controlled, our healthcare costs will go up because of hospitalization. The other thing that was shown by some studies, that locally made medicines was readily available in a short time. When we have pandemics, when we have epidemics, we need medicines very quickly. And during the COVID time, we supplied medicines very, very quickly, and we should be proud of the pharma industry there. There's a huge market there, and I do believe we can be an India of Africa. Why do we talk about India? Why do we talk about Pakistan? Why do we talk about China? Why don't we talk about Kenya, Kenyan jobs? That's what we are here for. The AUC Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Plan of Africa said that between 30% that is locally made and 70% which is imported, we wanted to change it around. Yeah? The same for the East African Community Manufacturing Plan. We want to change it around. And that's why we're here. What will this mean? Once we get an income, we get more factories, the costs become less because there's competition, there's innovation. This is what we need. The kind of medicines Africa needs is not the type of medicines that Western require. We have our own diseases, we have our own needs, and we need to innovate there. And that will only come through this growth, like India has shown.
Your Excellency, today our construction industry consumes about 200,000 jobs, but just with the implementation of the affordable housing pillar, we have the potential to create an additional 500,000 jobs just from this one pillar. And this is not just, going to affect the building and construction sector, but Your Excellency, we will be creating a new population that has disposable income, that will pay taxes, that will eat the food from the agricultural farms, that will use the borders, and singularly, this is the one sector that can unlock the opportunities in the economy. At an average of 60 square meter per unit of affordable housing, using only a construction cost of 40,000 Kenya shillings, knowing that today the construction cost is anywhere at around 60,000 shillings per square meter, Your Excellency, we have an opportunity to generate 600 billion shillings to the economy with this one project. And this is excluding the income and revenue that will be generated by the manufacturers as their capacity utilization increases and that they're able to now go into the export market. This is just incremental as a result of the affordable housing pillar. Out of this, 180 billion shillings is likely to go to the fundis, the contractors that are local players in our industry. And if we look at the building materials complement, this is about 420 billion shillings. Out of this, if you assume 70% goes into local manufacturing, 250 billion shillings will go into local manufacturing of building products. Another 170 billion shillings will go into imported products, which are businesses that are run by SMEs and MSMEs. And I am saying this as one who has actually gone through this journey. And ultimately, we'll find that at an average, 500,000 jobs will be created using all the linkages that you can see there. We'll be able to impact on the fundis, we'll be able to impact on the value chains of business, our retailers. These are our hardware stores. These are all the retailers and distributors. We'll be able to create direct jobs within the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And ultimately, Your Excellency, I believe that just unlocking this one initiative is going to impact on all the pillars of the Kenya Kwanza initiative